Hey, Thomas. Yeah, it is
Hey,
clobbering time. It is.
yep, yep. I
Yes,
got
sir.
my one of my all-time favorite action figures. I like a
Okay.
thing here,
Now, where'd
and
you get that one? While we're at it, because people are gonna ask for sure. And I'm
I
curious too. Never
first
mind people. It's me. I'm people.
your people. I first started. He started popping up in Walgreens of all places. They have
Oh,
exclusive figures,
yeah.
and I went to several Walgreens and could not find him. So I did go. He finally showed up. He was showing up in various places, way more expensive than I wanted to pay for him. But then I guess either they re-released him or did another release of him on Amazon, and I got him for like I think about 20 to 25 bucks on Amazon. Now I think they've got a different version of him that came out. They relaunched the whole line of Fantastic Four because this I think is the Legends, Marvel's Legends version. But then they came out with the whole line of Fantastic Four by themselves with them and their various enemies, villains like Doctor Doom and Psycho Man, which we're going to talk about here later.
Yes, we
But
are.
yeah, it's yeah. So, but yeah, that's it's a classic figure. I like this one because it's pretty close to how John Byrne drew him. Um, Although not completely, but close enough for Disco. But yeah,
Right.
um, yeah. Actually, when I first started enjoying, and today we're talking about Fantastic Four and a few issues of John Byrne's run, which the no question the best run of Fantastic Four is, of course, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Their
Yes.
run was the run that they created the team and they introduced a whole slew of great villains like Doctor Doom, Annihilus, Psycho Man, Mole Man. They introduced Black Panther and Namor, the Submariner.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so it's hard to compete. It's hard to compete
So,
with that.
so
But I think
was that known as like the Golden Age or the Silver Age, or what is that? Or as far as you know, because I was
it's
curious about
the
that and I never
silver.
looked up the
It's
Silver Age.
the
Okay,
golden
cool.
age. Yeah, the golden age would have been back with I guess when Batman and Superman first started,
Okay,
and
right,
then
right.
yeah, then um, I believe I could be wrong. If I'm
No,
wrong,
that makes
let me know down in the
Yeah,
comments.
absolutely.
Uh,
Speaking of that, before we get too carried away, I just wanted to plug our show, our channel here,
mhm,
and you'll see us on the description down below. We'll have a link to our channel.
mhm,
We have a ever growing back catalog. I'm very proud of our back catalog. I'm very happy with it, because it
mhm,
is obviously the cumulative total of our experiences going into this, doing this little thing we do, little conversation we have every week or so. We try to aim for every week. But in any case,
mhm.
yeah. So I wanted to kind of take a second there to highlight our most popular and recently the Oscar-winning folks, the two, I think the lead and the female, something like that. I'm not
Actually, yeah, that got best picture, best
right.
director,
Best, yeah,
best right, best
right, right,
yeah,
right. Yeah, I was just
yeah,
kind
best
of coming in because it
yeah,
basically swept the Oscars in a great fashion,
right,
and
great.
rightfully so. It was very good, very fun, good
Mm-hmm,
movie. But shout out to that. Again, this
mm-hmm,
one surprises me because you just don't know what people are going to be into, and
mm-hmm,
Tron is one of
yeah,
those, which
mm-hmm.
is interesting. And then also Possession, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the obscure horror movie that no one's ever heard of, or at least on Reddit, people inform me that people have heard of it. So
right,
it's
right.
like I wasn't talking about you, internet people.
Well, Reddit always takes itself way too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crying in the beer types, so to speak. Anyway, but
Yep.
yeah, so we can hop right into this. But I
Hmm.
just wanted to mention
But
our
yeah, and
things.
also
Our
shout out to Scott Dyson. He
Oh
came and
yeah,
visited
that's right.
us last week, and his did very well as well. Yeah,
Yes,
he was a great interview. We hopefully we'll have him back here in the future. He was a great guest. He expressed interest in coming back. But yeah, he's a big supporter of us as well. He wherever he can, he'll mention us, and we try to do the same for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, the cool thing. He's just down to earth guy like us. But he also, in his spare time, also happens to write books, which I also did not know how much of an author you were as well. To kind of bring that up, and
Yeah.
that's something that we definitely will be talking more about in the future for sure. But yeah, it would be great to have Scott back on as a special guest because he has some pretty cool takes.
Hmm.
And he's I think he kind of is in between me and you. Like I'm much more
Hmm.
science fiction books. I just read them all the
Hmm.
time. Whatever I can get a hold of. Always looking for the next fix. Fix
Hmm.
being a super long series or something like that I can just sink my teeth into there that will last quite a long time. But anyway, and then you likewise are uh,
Hmm.
uh horror genre and some a couple others too, which we will get into a little bit in a future
Hmm.
show
Yeah.
in regards to books and writing and reading and all this. But in any case, Scott Dyson, a great interview, and
Hmm.
we'd love to have him back on. And
Yeah. And I.
we'll make sure that his info website is in the description. So
Hmm.
should you be interested, as well as the one to that show that we're talking about. Anyway, I'll let you go, and then we can hop in if that's cool.
Yeah. 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 And so we're talking about John Byrne's run on Fantastic Four. Like I said, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby is, they say that they're the best run on Fantastic Four, which I agree. And I don't think there's any question that the second best run is John Byrne's run. And as Mike was mentioning that Scott Dyson's a good mix of us, I think John Byrne's a really good mix of uh, classic sci-fi concepts with horror elements, plus the strong traditional superhero concept, which all three of those kind of exemplifies Fantastic Four. Their stories have always been kind of science fictiony,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
also extolling the virtues of being a superhero. Plus, there's a very strong core of family in it. Reed and Sue, I think they got married within the first year of the run of Fantastic Four, and they had their first child, Franklin, within that first year or two. And then everybody's kind of treated like a family member. Johnny Storm is Sue Richards, Sue Storm's um, brother, and the thing is Ben Grimm, the long running friend of Reed Richards. And then I guess if you're watching this, you should know who the Fantastic Four are. But just in case you don't, Fantastic Four is a long running comic book series from Marvel. They were the I think the when it's Stan Lee's first comic book for not maybe not the very first, but his first superhero comic book that he did. It introduces Reed Richards. He's the brainiac of the
Mhm.
group. He sends he co- talks Ben Grimm and his fiance Sue Sue Richards or Sue Storm at the time, and her brother Johnny Storm to sneak onto a base, get into a untested rocket without adequate protections to shoot off into space because they haven't had the the financial backing yet, or it was the final financial backing was being threatened, so you had to do this now or never kind of run out into space, and things go wrong. They hit radiation that transforms Reed Richards into Mr. Fantastic. He can stretch his skin. Sue Storm becomes Invisible Girl. She can go invisible. Ben Grimm gets super strong and gets built up into these orange rocks. And Johnny Storm, he becomes the Human Torch, and he can ignite himself into flames. So they've run through all these different adventures, and
Yes.
so yeah, John Byrne took over in the '80s, and I forget how many issues he runs, but it covers like a huge two omnibus series of stories. It's I think over 100 issues, and I could check that if you wanted to
Yeah, and
kind of vamp a
while
little.
you're, I'll pick up from where you're talking about. Yeah, and Reed
Hmm.
Richards, like you said, is very smart. In this universe or this world, is supposed to be like the smartest man in the world, essentially, like, just sheer genius off the charts. Like, he's like MacGyver, but crossed with like a Tony Stark, I guess,
Hmm.
because he's also very engineering. So I was gonna say, yeah, it was interesting too. I was pulling up the actual publication date for this was 1983. Um,
Okay. Yep.
and yeah, and the thing that struck me when I went back through is, well, one, you're in classic land, so everything's
Hmm.
better. In
Yeah.
certain regards, I think most folks will know what I mean by that.
Hmm.
It's There's nothing wrong with new comics. Not saying that, but there's also something. This is kind of the same thing as going back in time and watching. Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit ago, but like watching older classic movies,
Hmm.
like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, that type.
Hmm.
Something that's definitely from a different era, still has
Hmm.
nothing but quality all throughout. This is like
Hmm.
that in a
Yep.
lot of ways, but it's funny because some of the curves and characters definitely look like they have an era about them. They have like
Hmm.
I kind of got a 60s 70s vibe kind of sort of
Hmm.
thing with the
Yep.
way that Reed and especially um, uh, his wife,
Yeah.
and
So, yeah.
to a lesser degree also Ben Grimm and the
Hmm.
Human Torch as well. Yeah. So
Yep. Yep. So they started in the '60s. I think John Byrne, his run from 232 to 295. So not quite 100, but plenty of plenty of stories
right.
there. But yeah, he one of the things that he did was he was very respectful of what has happened in the past, and he did actually a lot of times would take those old characters, those old villains like Psycho Man, and kind of re-examine them and kind of modernize them for their time. But yeah, it was very exciting. He came off his run with Chris Claremont on X-Men into Fantastic Four, which he kind of co-wrote with Chris Claremont. Now, a little back history on John Byrne. He was born in England, and I don't know how many years he spent there, but then he also his family moved to Canada. He lived there for a while, and then in his adulthood, he moved into the United States and moved various places. But yeah, so he's well traveled, and I think that kind of back in the '80s, if we didn't have computers, so a lot of
No.
times if you wanted to have a reference for a city, or if you're trying to draw something, you either had to go to the library, get reference books or something. But I think him being so well traveled, he didn't say this in any interviews I read, but you would imagine him just being exposed to all the architecture and whatnot really kind of helped him a lot in his drawings, and how he realized his world. He has this more kind of worldly view of things. He also he said he started drawing. I think he said he was either 5 or 7, I believe. He was
Oh wow.
sitting in his grandfather's lap, and his grandfather was helping him, and he drew a horse and on chalkboard. And he said his parents still have that chalkboard drawing, his
That's
first
awesome.
original. But he actually, when he got older, he actually wanted to be a writer. So he kind of so and on his run on Fast Four, he was
Yeah.
the writer, artist, and oftentimes he was the inker as well. And now that's a lot to do on a book, but he was also doing Alpha Flight, writing and drawing that.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember some
Mhm.
classic Alpha Flight that not that I
Mhm.
wasn't. I mean, technically I was alive during this time period. If we're talking about the
Mhm.
very early '80s, but
Mhm.
I won't say how old I was, but
Mhm.
nevertheless. Old when as I got older and I could look up,
Hmm.
old Alpha Flight things, like I just was
Hmm.
fascinated by that. Whenever I could get a hold of it, I would. But that's an offshoot of
Hmm.
Wolverine and some other
Hmm.
characters, X-Men and all this. But yeah, and just kind of highlight on the screen in the very center, that is Burns. That is breaking. They break the fourth wall so perfectly, and like it's
Hmm.
not a big deal, and you just go with it.
Yep.
Um, which
Yeah.
I want to say is in complete contrast with wall when they break the wall. They do it for purpose. It's either to be funny or kitschy, or kind of just surrealist. It doesn't matter. It works. It works
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
Where more modern versions of this don't or
Hmm.
didn't quite get
Yeah.
that, and they broke the wall and they just they
Yeah.
kind of sucked. They sucked at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, this is famously this month's issue happened during the assistant editors month where they take over. All the editors were going on vacation, and all the assistant editors got to take control. And basically, it was kind of a gimmicky kind of thing where everybody could do whatever they wanted to do weird things like Amazing Spider-Man, or I think it was Spectacular Spider-Man. They had Fred Hembeck draw that one, or I think he also wrote it. But he's sort of the kind of cartoony kind of art guy that it was kind of crazy. So they either did something really silly, but with this one, they actually did a very serious story. In a previous issue, Reed Richard had saved Galactus.
Yes.
And which, if you don't know, Galactus is a world-eating entity. I believe in this issue they refer to him as a force of nature, which they come to the realization of that throughout this
Yes.
issue. And so basically, John Byrne, why he's here is I believe he was invited by the Watcher, who watches over everything, and
Yes.
to help chronicle and bear witness to the trial of Reed Richards. The Shire or Shears have
Yeah.
accused Reed Richards of aiding and abetting old Galactus. And so, since they can't put Galactus on trial, they got the next best thing. We won't get into politics or whatnot, but you might be able to draw some conclusions in reality on this.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah. She are the she are and I like how well, obviously I have a pretty decent body of knowledge for these things for comic books, but it was like, oh yeah, I know those guys. Those are from the they also are shared occasional tag in
Mm-hmm.
enemy or ally for the X-Men, depending upon what
Mm-hmm.
storyline you're in or whatever. But
Yep.
anyway, they're very very prominent characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dug the I really dug the style. Like I said, like to me this looks
Mm-hmm.
kind of like 70s ish,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there's other times like where the characters definitely were given a hand by a 60s kind of
Mm-hmm.
perspective. It's just kind of funny how that's encapsulated in the
Yeah,
art. But yeah,
yeah, and say that panel right there, that's very very reminiscent of Jack Kirby, since he's doing the Fantastic Four, and Jack Kirby's so known for Fantastic Four. There's always some type of nod towards Jack Kirby because that almost looks photo reference, like maybe they even took a photo and kind of exposed it into
mm,
various ways, and that's what a lot of times whenever the Fantastic Four would famously go into negative space, Jack Kirby would actually take a photo and kind of manipulate it and put his art over the photo.
okay,
So I
that's
think
really
that's
cool.
and it looks a little gimmicky now or kind of silly, but I'm sure it worked better in the '60s. But so this is sort of John Byrne's sort of take on it to make it look a little bit cooler and not as kind of goofy as unfortunately Jack Kirby didn't have the technology or everything on his side at that point to make it look really cool. But yeah, there's Yoda up there, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's gonna say you can, and there's of course there's like infinite little infinite naval
Yeah.
gazing that you can do at this.
And that's the thing with John Byrne's art. He doesn't skimp, even though he was
Hmm.
drawing 2 books a month. He never skimped on the art, and you could find things that you don't normally would find. And in modern day comics, some of them can be very very sloppy and. Yeah. And also, he had a chore for writing as well. If you're kind of looking at these pages, there's a lot of panels, word text on the page, whereas modern day
Oh
comic book,
God, there's nothing.
yeah, there's hardly anything. And so that they got back in the 80s, they got more into the heads of the characters. There was a lot more thought balloons and a lot more. Yeah, kind of explaining, even though you could probably get what they're talking about through the panels, but they also kind of were really good about explaining and going in depth and giving more texture to the story. And like one of his comic books, reading it could take between 20 and 30 minutes to read it, just kind of getting through all the text and looking at everything. Whereas
Oh yeah,
today, a modern day comic book you could probably read in 5-10 minutes.
yeah. I was gonna say his artwork and whatnot. Just like looking at the Galactus, it makes me cringe to think that the mo- the Disney Marvel would even dare introduce something like that, or the Fantastic Four. I kind of want them to like not do anything with anything for a while, like let things be for a little bit, because I feel like that, man, like a
Well,
a classic Galactus like
uh-huh.
that is going to be
Yeah,
potentially not used. Well, we'll
right,
see. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
anything about anything,
yeah.
but
I was impressed with the they introduced Reed Richards in Doctor Strange.
I thought that was
Yeah,
handled very
Method
well.
Man.
To,
Yep.
to be clear, I thought that was handled very well, even though you only see some characters for like 15 seconds. But that's not the point. The point is that it explores territory, and it also is like red meat for the fan, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
You're like,
definitely.
oh my god, that's Bolt, that's Bolt. Like there now, oh, what does this mean? Is there going to be an Inhuman crossover or something like like? There's all kinds of connective tissue with that, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Unfortunately, that little brief section of that movie was more exciting to me than anything Marvel has put out recently. But I guess that's
agree.
neither
See,
here
I
nor there.
yeah, I think that was they were. I think that was the what. Well, regardless of whatever happens, the next one coming out, which I know you're going to be on the hook to see, and I will be too, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, the very last one,
Hmm.
the
Yep.
James Gunn one, the last James Gunn
Hmm.
Marvel flick, probably ever for a long, probably forever. But and who knows? Forever can be 2 years in this in current day
Yep.
and age. So whatever that means to to where we find ourselves at in the future. But
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway, go on. But I hope that the Marvel that lightning feel that rewatchability is there with the Doctor Strange Spider-Man movie, just like it was back, not too long ago, prior to the end of the Avengers, like Avengers 1,
Hmm.
Avengers 2, Captain America,
Hmm.
yada yada. Like there's all
Hmm.
kinds, that we all have
Yep.
our favorites that we like to
Hmm.
rewatch or whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, this was a very good treat that I was very
Yeah.
happy to go back
Yeah.
through and see.
Yeah.
It's just got all kinds of. It even has subplots and whatnot. And again,
Hmm.
I'm kind of making fun of it, but it seems like you get like 8 pages maybe, like for a
Hmm.
comic book. Like all the way. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm kind of joking a little bit, but
Hmm.
this one was. It just kept going on, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And this yeah, I think the modern comic Marvel comics they're 20ish or 20 pages, whereas
right,
issue of this would be 22. But I think the added added dialogue,
detail and bonus
yeah,
and
kind of fills it out to make it seem a lot longer because it is longer to read. And then but you're getting like I said, the trial of Reed Richards. The I think that all the excitement within seeing all the various aliens and seeing Galactus, but
right.
there's not a whole lot going on. It's just a trial, and I was very much. I don't think I had started reading Fantastic Four at this point,
Mhm.
but yeah, he. I was a very young teenager when I started reading it, and I was
Right.
always able to follow along. I was always able to follow the stories, and even like
Right.
an issue like this, which was just the trial of Galactus. There's no flashy big battle at the end like you would have on a Marvel movie. This is
Right.
something I would love to see. Obviously, maybe they can't do it in a TV series or on a movie, but as an episode of a TV, this would be riveting. You're okay. Because you're saying, okay, well, how can Reed Richards get out of being accused of murder? Because he
Right.
did help. He did save Galactus, and how is that going to come out? And basically, it's kind of introduced that Galactus is a force of nature,
Right.
and he's not good or bad. He's just a
Right.
force of nature, like a tornado. How can you put a tornado on trial? Basically,
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. The you get to see Odin and some like it's just kind of cool. Like it just makes you want to go back and like, oh man, what was going on with Thor? Like what was the storyline
yeah,
there? And then you'll fall into a good place as well. But
yeah, and
regardless,
that was another thing about these comic books is that in the '80s under Jim Shooter, people have good and bad things to say about Jim Shooter, but and we won't go into the weeds on that. But he had a very good lockdown on the various storylines and how they interconnected, and he made sure all the writers were aware what was going on with the various storylines so that other people won't step on each other's toes,
right.
and everything fits together. And you may be, and a lot of times I was enticed into reading other comic books because, oh well, say Spider-Man shows up or Iron Man shows up, and you get to hear a little bit about what's going on in Iron Man's world, and you go, oh,
Right.
that kind of sounds interesting, and so you get into that one. Whereas modern day, it's supposed to all interconnects, and it sort of does, but it doesn't always make sense. And there's not that sense of connection that there was during this age. Whereas like the current day Marvel movies, maybe not current day, but with that first phase, you had that sense of connective tissue
Right.
that was there in this time of comics.
Yeah, and I just want to give credit where due. I'm not poo-pooing Marvel. Like I'm just
Oh
kind of
yeah, yeah.
taking issue with current quality and just
Hmm.
oversaturation in general.
Hmm.
And that's a very bland observation. That's not groundbreaking or anything like that. But
Yep.
credit where due. Boy, when they can get that to work all the way together and then build upon it over time,
Hmm.
there's such great payoff. And you saw that with like the last two Avengers movies like that.
Hmm.
Both were like well over $2 billion or whatever. So
Hmm.
it's great when you can get it in a special treat. But I was going to say too, because of the Watchers in this, and even the modern day Disney Marvel has their version of their Watcher.
Hmm.
And that was like with What If season one, and I think there's still going to be a What If season two. I
Yeah,
think that's
I keep seeing articles saying that things are getting pushed back and pushed back. So
yeah.
who
I
knows?
would
Who knows?
yeah, I would hope that I would actually. That's like one of the things that I would show up for
Hmm.
the Disney Marvel stuff. Aside from like
Yep.
big tentpole ones like like I didn't show up for Ant-Man. I didn't show up for the Wakanda one, and I didn't show up for. I think we watched ours on streaming.
Hmm.
So we didn't even we
Yeah.
didn't like go in the theater. It was like months later or
Right.
whatever. But
Hmm.
and that's fine too. I'm just saying like that.
Hmm.
But anyway, John
Yep.
Burns, and I guess I can go to the other issue because like
Yeah.
you're kind of deadlocks and you're like left at like this thing of like they
Yeah.
all basically then and this is what I like comics explained. He does like I like his narration, but he'll do like a whole thing, and
Oh
he'll
yeah.
get really excited. He'll draw you. His excitement draws you in
Hmm.
to be interested, but
Hmm.
he'll be like, oh man, eternity. Who
Hmm.
summons eternity? Because the Watcher and Galactus join forces or join hands, and somehow summoned him or whatever. Anyway, it's kind of cool. It's just really friggin' cool that you get to see these peek into a whole
Yeah,
other like
just yeah.
what.
Yeah, and neither Mike or I are artists, but yeah, just look at the detail of that figure and what
Yeah.
all that had to go into to make
just,
him. And then that's with the '80s technology too, as far as
well, that obviously it was pen to paper,
Mhm.
physical analog media, and that media will always be, as
Yep.
long as we have a high enough resolution scan like this. Like this is pretty good
Mhm.
for
And
digital
in
comics, but
and
if it looked good
uh
in real life, it looked
yep.
even better on digital.
Yeah, yeah, and he inked this, so yeah,
Oh wow.
so he wrote, drew, and inked this, so yeah, yeah, and obviously when you do this, it's a labor of love, and then I read an interview with John Byrne, that was during this time period,
Hmm.
and he said that on his work schedule, I think he'd wake up at 6:30 in the morning, and it would draw until 11, and then go on lunch for an hour or two, and then he'd work till 6. So he'd do almost a 12-hour day, just drawing. And he said, he would stop whenever he had 3 pages of art. So he did 3 pages of art every day.
Oh wow,
So,
that's awesome. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, it got a different era. But
yeah,
yeah,
there's definitely a work ethic that maybe not quite there today.
yeah, this is just insane. Like just this,
Hmm.
the quality
Yeah.
is like, this is kind of like where you'd want to figure out some kind of way to like take this and like put it up on the wall somewhere,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
you were so inclined.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, this one is very good. And I guess I could go to you want me to go to 263 or 264 or
Yeah. That's yeah, those two. Yeah, I included these two just because it's kind of fun. Basically, it's an adventure with the Thing, my favorite Fantastic Four character, and Johnny Storm. It's basically Johnny Storm goes to do he races cars, so he gets invited into to race a car in a exhibition at their version of Disneyland. It's
right.
sort of John Byrne spoofing Walt Disney and Disneyland, and something that probably you couldn't get away with in current days, since Disney
Mm,
owns Marvel. So I thought it was
yep,
pretty fun to
that was a
and it,
that was a treat.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's
Lit, little did they know that Disney would
mhm,
eat them in the end.
mhm. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is what I was talking about, that 60s style
oh yeah,
of
hmm,
the characters and the
that
lines
honey,
and
I'm
draw.
home. Yeah,
Right, exactly. Yeah, the
yeah.
Donna Reed kind of, or I guess it'd be more like Mary Tyler Moore, or more. What was the other one? Bewitched. That's what I was
Mhm.
thinking of. That probably be more Bewitched than the other one that I said.
Yeah,
But
yep. So yeah, that's Reed Richards and Sue Richards with their son Franklin. And at this point in time, they wanted to give Franklin more of a traditional family kind of setting, much like your reference to the '60s. And so
right,
they've moved out of the Baxter Building, which is the home of the Fantastic Four, and they've have a little home in Connecticut. And Reed, and at this time Sue's pregnant, so she's staying at home. Reed's going from Connecticut to New York to work at the Baxter's office, and again, there's Johnny and the Thing. I can't remember. Are they in California or Florida? I
I
can't
think
remember.
California. I got
Hmm.
California. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, pretty sure it's California because I think yep, Sunny California. Yep,
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
Yep,
And
I
so
remember reading that.
yep. And that's an actress that Johnny knows from New York, and So
Johnny.
they happen to meet up. Johnny's the ever playboy. Yep. Never lucky in love. He every girl that he tends to fall in love with either runs off with somebody, some other alien, or his last girlfriend that he's getting over from is the new herald of Galactus. She becomes Nova.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so she dumped Johnny for Galactus.
Unfortunately, though, Johnny died in this horrific car crash.
Yep. And there's no more issues with Johnny.
Even though the Thing knows better. He follows his gut and he knows what's up. He's like, no way. He's handled the fractions of a degree of the sun for seconds. This is impossible for him to die like this,
Yeah, and that's
absolutely correct.
There's a misconception on the Thing being some dumb guy. He acts that way. That's his persona. But he's actually a very smart guy. He's a pilot. He knows how to pilot planes, and he knows how to pilot a freaking rocket into space. I mean, come on. So he's not your completely dumb guy. So he kind of figures he's got something's off here. I don't think Johnny's dead. So he goes off to Star Island to investigate things, which is supposed to be the head office of this Disneyland I forget the name of it, but their version of Disneyland. But so
I can't remember what that was, but it kind of ticked by because it was good.
Yep.
They have okay. Yeah, what was it? I think
there's some of the
Yeah, I'll just go in that. Might as well.
There's their version of, I guess, Donald Duck there over on the left. If you scoot over a little bit.
Yeah. And Bugs
fishing.
Bunny kind of sort of thing going on. Like, so they kind of let Warner Brothers have it a little bit too, I guess. But
a little Bugs Bunny and sort of a maybe Goofy as a cow and Mickey with some weird shaped ears.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like very caricatured. What was it? Project. Oh, that's different.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they have like this cartoony, very cartoony, very kitsch. All the more it's very enduring. You see the.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh man! Everybody's sad.
Which kind of references the old Disney sort of educational videos that would have sort of the the over exaggerated animations. So it turns out that that the guy that runs this place has all this money, and he has decided that he's kind of come up with the idea of fixing the overpopulation. You shoot fire into the core of the earth, and it'll expand the world, and it'll expand it out and provide more space. And who better to shoot that flame into the core of the earth than Johnny Storm, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then they go into the little ethics, like he gives him the Spock, the sacrifice of the few for the many, or some such crazy, insane thing.
Yeah. So it's sort of plays into the Walt Disney as a megalomaniac. So the thing gets knocked down into almost the core, and guess who he meets? He meets Mole Man, or he kind of plays off. Yeah, he's kind of a goofy character, but he's played very well here. The whole story is sort of on the edge of being goofy, maybe a little too goofy for the Fantastic Four, but you're dealing with the more comedic element of the Fantastic Four with the Thing and Johnny Storm. So it's kind of a lighthearted story anyway. So it rides the line very well between funny and serious,
cartoony.
Cartoony.
It's got it, but that goes on the fun side. It just makes it fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you go too far in one way or the other, you lose the balance. And John Byrne really knows how to balance everything out, and that's the key for a great writer
Yeah,
is
that
being able
that
to
is
do that.
we do not have that. We that balance is very rare nowadays, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Yep.
Just in my opinion. I mean, when it works and it strikes, like I was saying, it works, but
Hmm.
sometimes it doesn't, and it's very bad.
Oh, and look at that cover for that issue. That's amazing cover. The one of the things I modern day comic books, there's a lot there that's good out there, but I think
There can be,
there's
there can
very
be.
few covers that I'm really go, wow, that's a great cover. Whereas back then there's a lot of amazing covers. This one's one of them.
Yeah, just the everything
Uh-huh.
to
Yeah,
the
even the little yeah, you used to know that it was a Marvel comic. Well, the banner at the top, but then you had that in the upper left hand corner, like you were showing off. That was very much a Marvel thing, to have a little caricature of the characters up in the corner there.
Yeah, if you took away all this, you would know. Oh, I know what that is. That's Marvel. You just
Hmm.
if you took away the detail and just left the color and
Hmm.
the hues,
Hmm.
you would iconically know who and what that was
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and I think if I can it'll cooperate here, I can go to.
Oh, and actually, I think actually, if you go back to that issue on that the last page, there's a letter column I
Oh yeah,
wanted to
that's right.
point out real quick. I didn't realize that was in that issue, but we'll find out. There was a big thing that they did. They wanted people to submit a new hairstyle for Sue Storm,
Oh,
Sue
that's cool.
Richards, and we're going to see the result of that in a future issue here shortly. The most suggested ones are those two that John Byrne recreated there. But they didn't go with either one of those. uh,
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
uh,
Um,
but but yeah, so they said that they were going to pick it. They weren't going to do it by popular demand, because they wanted to pick a hairstyle that was easy to recreate. They did. They said some of them that they got suggested would have been too elaborate to do for several panels a page. But yeah, so we'll see the future results. Your mileage may vary as whether or not it's an improvement or not. But yeah. Now you can go on to the next issue if you want.
yeah, I was just reading the
Oh,
enjoying the little
yeah,
thing there.
yeah. There's a little blurb about what went on in the previous issue.
Yeah, he was
Um,
talking about going to Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con.
where the
Wow.
editors took their vacation. But yeah, so this cover is a homage to Fantastic Four issue 1. John Burns has kind of recreated that issue several times. I think about 7 times, from what I read. But yeah, it's the classic iconic image from that first issue. He's kind of having a little play on it, with only because this is the return of that creature from that issue, that original issue. So Mole Man was in issue number 1 of Fantastic Four. But yeah, so this is the conclusion of the story. Um, the thing he enlists the unlikely ally of Mole Man to help him out, to save Johnny Storm. And I think in this issue, either this issue or last issue, we learned that the Walt Disney kind of stand-in guy has been cryogenically frozen. And much in Walt Disney, there's those rumors that his head was cryogenically frozen as well. So
Oh
I'm sure
yeah,
this is sort of a play on that idea as well. But yeah, again, the art's really good in this issue. Um, and yeah, I always like those little creatures that Mole Man has control over, those little yellow guys. And then I think this is him. I forget exactly his reminiscing on things. Yeah. there's the thing, and he's explaining to Mole Man
Recap.
and that's the cool thing about 80s comic books is that you always had a recap because Jim Shooter's idea, along with Stan Lee, was every issue is someone's first issue.
That's true.
So yeah, so
Smart.
yeah, if if they're reading something and they have no idea what's going on, they're probably going to just not read it anymore. I'm just confused. I don't really get this. So they always kind of worked in a few panels, and it kind of worked out because with 22 pages, you could spend 2 pages on maybe a recap, kind of catch everybody up, and tell a full story without missing a beat. Now today's comic books are 20 pages, and then you have a page of text to start with that kind of catches you up to speed. But much like I watched the interview with Chris Claremont, he said, "Who the hell reads that?" He goes, "You're going to get into the story and start reading it." He says, "I wish that they would integrate more of recaps within the story of the pages." But I think today's comics are mainly geared towards reading them as graphic novels, so they're actually meant to be read all together as opposed to single issues. And I think you kind of passed over the big fight with the Disney characters, the faux Disney characters.
Yeah.
Where's the here. Things punching Mickey Mouse? Yeah, yeah. The little Daffy Duck there. Not Daffy Duck, but Donald Duck kind of looking guy.
Yeah, and then you can see like the clearly like it's a cartoonish foe, that type of thing. There we go.
Squawk.
Well, Mickey would have his revenge, that is for sure. Yeah, and I think he's called Maxie or something like that. Or whatever. I don't know.
I can't believe no one hasn't grabbed that image for modern day kind of.
Oh yeah,
their take on Marvel Disney.
You would think. Yeah,
you would think. Yeah.
Cash that.
Yeah, definitely. So that it kind of culminates in the big battle between the Disney characters and the Fantastic Four, and everything kind of works out in the end, like a lot of comic books back in those days, without too much kind of going back to kind of status quo.
Yeah, until they came up to the to the thing, the kind of the thing monster, whatever.
Oh yeah, he shows up and kind of wreaks havoc. I don't know if he has a name.
I don't think they did.
Yeah. Very much kind of a Jack Kirby monster there. And,
just this artwork like this kind of like that. The perspective is very good.
Yeah, and John Byrne, he's most known for his run on Fantastic Four, X-Men, but he did a run on Alpha Flight. He did a really fun run on Iron Man. He's done Superman. He's done the Fourth World, which I think is a DC Jack Kirby thing. He did a famous run for She-Hulk. He also did Namor, a run for Namor. He's done a lot of great things.
Absolutely, yeah. I was going to say, and then we had a few more too, to check out. 282.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when were these published? Real World.
I think 84.
Okay,
yeah,
84.
It's towards the end of his run because his run ended on 295. So 282 was there was about a little over a year left of his run at this point. And this one's sort of a crossover between Secret Wars 2, but there's not a whole lot of that within this story.
Yeah, that storyline does not really progress through this comic.
No.
Like they like to do with the crossovers and like have a big story arc, which
Mhm.
CW is very good, or they were very
Mhm.
good at when their shows were good.
Mhm.
They would have a a big four episode crossover between all four different
Mhm.
series or
Yep.
whatever.
Mhm.
Which is one thing that DC did. One thing that they did kind of sort of well, but not really. Got long in the
Mhm.
tooth. But Marvel
Yeah.
definitely for sure. This is just cool.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And,
it makes me
after.
want to go read Secret Wars.
Yeah. The first Secret Wars, at the end of that, the Thing decides to stay on that weird planet that they got shot off to, and the Thing asks She-Hulk to take over his role in the Fantastic Four. So that's why She-Hulk's with them at this point. And so we had the science fiction kind of classic trial in that first story that we looked at. We had his more humorous side that we looked at in the Thing, uh, Human Torch story. Now this story is very much Sue Richards centric. Now to catch you up, the previous two issues, the hate monger had taken over New York and caused everybody to hate everybody, and he infected Sue, sort of got in her mind and kind of violated her mind and had her turn
Right.
on the Fantastic Four. So this is the aftermath of this, and this is John Byrne in his. There's an adventure story here, but it's very much an emotional family drama that plays out, and Sue's kind of tormented self after being violated so badly through that.
Yeah.
She's trying to reclaim herself in these issues, kind of set things up. Now the fun thing is, Franklin is having these premonitious dreams, and the start of this issue is sort of a kind of really spotlights the wonderful artwork of John Byrne and sort of the kind of fantastical things, and it also introduces the child group Power Pack,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
and which I don't believe he didn't write those, but this was the second biggest comic book during this time. X-Men being the biggest. So a lot of times they would introduce new groups or new characters in X-Men and Fantastic Four, and so they're introducing this group Power Pack, which they get a lot of guff because they're kids. A lot of people would didn't like to collect that back in the
Oh,
day.
stupid peewees! Oh, I don't care. But yeah, I do that.
But I actually enjoyed it. I collected it, and it was written by Louis Simonson. She was very good writer. Um, now current current day people say that there weren't female writers back in the day, but this is early '80s, and we have some of my favorite comic books were written by female writers at that time. So I don't know.
Right, right. Well, it's almost like something was being asked to be sacrificed in quality for maybe not ready for prime time. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. We'll
Mhm.
skip over that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And we get to see Sue Storm's or Sue Richards' new hairstyle, which is I can't say the only thing you can call it is a mullet. I don't know.
yeah. I was like, yeah, when I saw her hair, I was like, what did you do? Oh, you ruined it. You friggin' ruined
Yeah.
it. Like it looks like it looks like Ricky Bobby. It looks like what's
Absolutely.
the Eastbound and Down that
Mhm.
character or whatever that is played by I can't even think of his name. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's definitely it. Boy, it sticks out like a sore thumb. But it's very well drawn. I'll give it that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. At least She-Hulk had a nice do at this point.
Yeah,
But,
She-Hulk's hair was like more normal. This one, like, it stuck out. Like that just didn't
yeah.
go along with it. Like
Yep. Hmm.
it's just like
Yep. Yep. And
mullet.
another thing that's old comic books are accused of is being sexist. being male centric. Look at this. We've replaced the Thing with She-Hulk, so half the team's female, the other
Right.
half is male. So yeah, there was always a conscious decision to spice things up, at least with group comic books. And maybe I was a little put off at this point. I was collecting it and reading these comics, and I may have, I don't remember it, but I may have been kind of pissed off that the Thing was no longer in it. But he had his own
Right.
solo comic books that was coming out at that time. I was collecting those, so I actually enjoyed it because I got comic books that focused on the Thing, which was
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite character. So I was happy. I was reading the Thing, and then I got to know She-Hulk, and basically John Byrne, the current version of She-Hulk is what John Byrne did. He really kind of defined the character, made her the likable character that she is. Now, he did do the She-Hulk comic book after his run on Fantastic Four, and she leaves the Fantastic Four after his run. He did do a comic book of her, and that's whenever she started breaking the third wall and started talking to the
Oh,
audience. So she's not doing that at this point. We're
no.
just kind of getting to know her, knowing her as a character and her struggles with fitting in. Because again, Fantastic Four is very much a family, and they welcome her with open arms. But she feels like an outsider for the most part. She's very happy to be with them, but she's still trying to figure out her place within the group, and
Yeah,
she's all constantly kind
she's
of worried that once the Thing comes back, well, I'm out of here,
she a very reserved character.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Which, unfortunately, I think today's comic book, She-Hulk would have no flaws. She'd be, I'm a woman. Get out of my way. I
I
can
don't need
fix
no man.
things. Yeah, exactly.
And that's fine.
We're-
That's fine.
yeah,
I saying that
uh,
as a
you're
jokey
right.
tone, but like,
But
yeah,
yeah, each.
no
Mhm,
flaws, no blemishes, no
mhm,
nothing, just instant.
mhm.
One
Yeah.
panel they had no powers, and the other panel they had that, and
Mhm,
then even like down to the origin of how they got their
mhm,
powers is not
mhm.
allowed.
Right.
Like for whatever
Mhm,
reason or whatever because of the
mhm.
message.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
joke. Like,
But yeah, so the She-Hulk, she's still trying to find her way within the group. She's this is she hasn't been a superhero for very long. She's trying to figure
right,
out how to be a superhero. She has that insecurity. Sue Storm at this point's been mentally violated. She's angry.
right,
She's frustrated. She actually yells at Franklin when he comes in and interrupts him at the beginning of this, and she's very adamant about following, not worrying about the cosmic stuff that's going on in the Secret Wars 2 at the
right.
time. She wants to go after and get revenge on Psycho Man, who messed up her head. And Reed Richards, he's not the perfect guy either. He's more analytical. He kind of fights with her. No, we need to stay to figure this out. So he's that has that flaw of not being emotionally attached all the way to things, whereas Johnny Storm's a bit of a hothead, kind of
Right.
playing up his physical attributes as well. And he's sort of obviously he's not the smartest guy in the world, but he's trying. He has that struggle between
Yeah.
backing his sister and the team leader.
He kind of does have a meathead kind of persona
Hmm.
occasionally, or kind of sort of thing like that
Hmm.
occasionally. Not all the time, but
Hmm.
like he's kind of like even in the movies.
Hmm.
And we covered those
Yeah.
at length
Yeah.
in a past episode, which will be down in the
Hmm.
description too. But the one that was never released, I think we covered that one. But anyway, yeah, so these are a little bit more flawed. This whole run, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. There, and then that's what makes this interesting is like and then Psycho Man captures them. They've gone into microspace, and somehow Psycho Man's regular size, and he captures them. It's like, oh my gosh, how are they going to
Oh,
get out of this one? Yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely get a good shot of the sci-fi as you kind of
Yeah.
as you roll through here, and then you go on
Hmm.
to the. I'm gonna go to the next thing if it'll let me. I gotta I gotta go to the right one. 283. Yep. I'm sure there's a way to put these in order, but
Yeah, yeah, and we handpicked some issues from John Bird's later run of it, but his whole run from 230 to 295 is excellent. I I would be I couldn't point out like a bad issue that he wrote through the whole run. And one of the cool things he said in an interview at that time is that he had ideas planned out for a year in advance. He knew
mm,
within a year what he was going to be doing, and that's a testament to him being able to come up with all these ideas. He was there.
yeah. So and
Um,
this is the final episode of the of that one that we're
the run.
covering right now. But yeah, this one had a lot of deeper level connections than like some of the other the other ones. Like it was much more serious, much more
Mhm.
kind of coming to grips with things, that sort of thing. Of
Yeah.
course, the artwork is pretty good.
Yep.
You're right.
And
There is no bad run. And actually it works to the favor because you kind of want more.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you can see my library. I didn't just pull this. I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do 10 back, and then I'll do 10. So like
Yeah.
I don't have to stop and go back into the thing. Of course,
Yeah.
this is
And
the Marvel app
yeah.
Marvel
Yep.
Unlimited, I think, is what it's
Yeah.
called.
And I'm more of a physical guy, so I get like omnibuses here with the this one's my new one
Oh,
of
that's cool.
Captain Britain. But yeah, so I get the physical ones, whereas Mike goes digital. Nothing wrong with either one,
Yep,
whichever
yep.
floats your boat. Yeah, in the comments down below, say whether or not you like digital or physical, or a combination of them. Yeah, I do get some digital if it's cheap and I want to read it. I'll grab it digitally. And also, if you're new to our channel, if you were pulled in by our talking about Fantastic Four, and you're very familiar with John Byrne's run, let us know what's your favorite storyline that he did and during his run, or his worst. If you didn't
Oh
like
yeah.
his run.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was just fun to go back. And honestly, like I mean I like reading on the iPad because that's what
Mm-hmm.
obviously this is obviously what it looks like. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But I do like and they have yet to create it, but a good e-ink color one
Mm-hmm.
um that can, kind of give you a kind of a little ambiance because I like to read. I have a Kindle
Mm-hmm.
you know e-ink whatever, and the e-ink is really
Mm-hmm.
nice
Yep.
to use. So like I think we're almost there, but and I think that you can. I think they're out there in like South America and other markets like China,
Mm-hmm.
the Asia Pacific area. Like they already have like these devices that do that, but they're limited in some other way, like where you can't load something like this on there. Maybe you can, but in any case, that's I'm always like kind of like looking out there,
Mm-hmm.
because again, and now that I have my own house, though, I actually have more space. And when I find homes for things as the months go on, I
Mm-hmm.
will definitely want to, put my comic books up to,
Mm-hmm.
maybe easy access to like what because I have loads. I If it's a omnibus is really good, or a storyline that I'm after, I usually go off of the clerk's recommendation at my local comic book shop. Be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling like this. Is there anything like that? Or the other way around, where I already came in and I was like, I want this storyline. Do you have it? And I don't like, I like to wait, and then usually like when I'm
Mm-hmm.
there, I will go and I will get, I'll do like go find my whatever I'm feeling. I'll pull two
Mm-hmm.
or three up, forward and back, whatever I can, for current storyline, and then like I'll take those home and
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes I read them, sometimes I don't. You know, it's like sometimes like, maybe I didn't want to get that Punisher run, or maybe I want it, but it's few and far between when I go. But hence digital is there, and plus, I think as long as DC has their own version of this digital comic book thing, like where you subscribe to it. I think it's like either 3 months back. You have everything but the three most current three months of the most current titles. But eventually
Right.
they hit, and then you can just kind of go back. The
Right.
navigation has definitely improved over time. It used to suck. Like you like navigating Marvel's website to go to your thing. Like you had to know the title and everything like perfectly. Otherwise, it wouldn't pull up because I don't know when we worked together, and the things were slow. I'd have the thing pulled up, and I'd be reading through comic books
Yeah. Yep.
on the thing. I don't think I ever got in trouble for it or whatever, but well, maybe I did. I can't remember, but I don't think anything happened. But yeah, anyway, yeah, this is like the culmination of that storyline.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So yeah, it's more of a female centric issues with spotlight on She-Hulk and Sue Storm. Now, Reed Richards, being big brained, he figured out what Psycho Man was doing. He wasn't actually big. He was actually in a big suit that made him look big.
Right.
But it really is that's his only real contribution to the story. Whereas Sue's, it's her act of revenge, and she she goes, "I'm going to handle Psycho Man." The interesting thing is what she does to him off stage. You do not see what she what she and she has this device that controls emotions. The same thing that he did to mess with her head. So the implication is that she messed him up.
Yeah, that's like when you would fade to black, and then you would like maybe you would go to like a the boys types,
Uh-huh.
gore,
Absolutely, yeah,
gore
yeah.
filled thing off screen or whatever, or
Uh-huh.
the implied.
Yep. Yeah. All you heard was his screams.
Right.
So yeah, and before this issue, she was known as Invisible Girl. After this, she came out and said, "I'm Invisible Woman,"
Right. Right. Right.
and and she earned it in this issue. She's like, "I'm a force to be reckoned with." One of the things that I think John Byrne contributed to her as a character in his run is made her uh, the most changed person in his run and the most powerful member of the group. He really developed out her powers, and essentially, she's a if she was a mutant, I would consider her an Omega level mutant.
Mutant. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and for the uninitiated, Omega level is like the S tier, most powerful mutants. Like where
Mhm.
if they fart wrong, the planet could go bye bye, or just like massive
Mhm.
catastrophe in their wake if they don't
Yep.
put a lid on it. And
Mhm.
I was gonna say this is a template that's also been redone as well with Jean Grey on
Mhm.
the X-Men, where he kind of came out, and there's been dozens of storylines with the
Mhm.
Phoenix and Jean Grey, but essentially like it's kind of like that same
Yep.
thing, like that torn thing. It's a little bit more
Mhm.
negative on the X-Men side, but
Mhm.
anyway, it's
Yeah.
it's yeah, I don't understand like why I don't s- if you're not going to nitpick the art, okay, and the style of it, like what it represents, like 60s or 70s, what it evokes. I don't understand like why, and you say this at length, you say it better than I will, but you can have like okay, if you dust off this storyline, put a little bit of a modern twist, we all get that, whatever, don't overdo it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
you have these positive and reaffirming storylines that are very
Mhm.
complicated and could be, I mean, this is written in the era that it was, but it still
Mhm.
doesn't mean that it doesn't have or touch on serious
Mhm.
things or
Mhm.
representation,
Mhm.
if you want to go that
Yeah.
far. But the
Yeah.
thing is, the
Mhm.
representation has nothing to do with that. It's just the story that's set
Mhm.
before you. Like I don't.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
why can't you guys just nail this stuff down? Like
Mhm.
there's so
Yep.
much material to pick from.
Mhm.
for good quality storylines. If you want a modern whatever, like I just don't understand that. Like
right, and yeah, I'm
we will touch
supposed
into in our grab bag as well. Like what happened. There's been some big shifts and moves related to it.
And I have two points to make. One is that this is I'm supposed to be current day narrative. I'm supposed to be that the sexist guy that read his comic books back in the day. That was all about men, and I don't care for none. I don't cotton to these women superheroes and women writers and what's this going on in modern day. I don't like it. But this story is very female centric. It told a story of her anger and rage over being mind effed by this guy, and it's her working through her anger and her grief of what happened. She gets her revenge, comes out of it, becomes a better person, and reclaims herself. And if that's not a modern day woman story, I don't know what is. Well, and it happened to be written by a man, but I think the options are there.
Yeah, yes, a year and change ago, like from this point in time, or a little bit over a year, or whatever it was, like in the arc that we covered, Odin made a story point of basically like you're if you were put to the sword or you're put to test, you took to task, you're tested, and where's your medal, that sort of thing. That was a big story arc, and this is the same thing. Like this is the redemption, all in one, like where it's like, very serious. I just wish, I wish they would. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can't get a group of people that would pay homage where due, or draw inspiration from this. Like I don't understand.
Yeah,
that.
This would be a great story to tell in the film media. Also, I wanted to mention you brought up
better hair.
Yeah, with better hair. Yeah, better hairstyle. Yeah, definitely. No, say no to mullets. But you don't want your superheroes to have mullets unless they're on The Boys, and I think that'll work out.
Right.
Now, the thing I was going to bring up is you brought up Jean Grey, the Phoenix. John Byrne was the artist and co-writer on that run of the X-Men, and he was notoriously upset with Jim Shooter and Chris Claremont for killing off Jean Grey. He was very opposed to that. He did not like that, and I think it ended with her killing herself during the trial of the Phoenix. And I when we talked about the trial of Reed Richards, I should have pointed out, I think that was his answer to the trial of Jean Grey, the Phoenix, that she was a force of nature during that, and that this was his answer to that. This is how the trial should have came out. And I didn't realize it until I read it this time around, that I see this as his answer to that. Also, later in this run, they do bring back Jean Grey, and she's brought back in an issue of the Fantastic Four. Then her story went on into the X Factor series. But I like that he was able, John Byrne was able to bring her back to life, which, he felt she was wrongly killed. And also something to look up online. John Byrne, this thing with Jean Grey, it obviously is a passion of his. And a couple of years back, he did fan fiction. He actually did, I think it's 20 issues. I haven't read them all, where he takes up that issue where Jean Grey is dies. He rewrites it as her being alive, and he writes a 20 issue run of her being alive and how X-Men would pan out that way. It's all done, I think it's just done with pencils, but it's the classic John Byrne art. Great. It's not for sale. He's not selling it. He's giving it free. I think it's on a vlog. I think if you look up, I think it's elsewhere X-Men, something like that. You'll be able to find it. I read the first couple of issues. I need to go back, and I really want to read it after reading his run on Fantastic Four. But were you able to find it? I think. Yeah. Yeah, Elsewhen looks like. Yep.
X-Men. Yep, we'll do a quick web search. Hopefully, find it here. Well, it'll definitely be in the
yeah. So yeah, and again, he was a co-writer on X-Men, so it's very much classic X-Men. The run of X-Men that a lot of people younger than me, and maybe you're in that group where they're more pulled towards the 90s X-Men post Chris Claremont his run, whereas I'm more 80s, 70s and 80s X-Men with your Wolverine, Storm, Colossus. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so it's kind of rough as far as it just being pencil, but the story's there. The art's absolutely there. Yeah, so if you go through and you're looking for some more Byrne, that's free. Just go through there. And again, this is a passion project of his. This is all done out of the love of the characters and wanting to tell those stories that he wanted to tell back then, and doing it now.
Yeah, there's some like not even like just looking from afar. Like you don't need bubbles to know who these characters are. Oh boy, that takes me back to modern or Wolverine from back in the day. Like that's very opinionated Wolverine. Very good, very good.
Yeah, more animal than kind of more reflective of today. Yeah, the current run of Wolverine and X Force right now. Just to point out some great comic books that are going on right now. That run is amazing. They've rewritten the Beast as more of a villain character, which that doesn't really jive with classic Beast, but it's an amazing story right now. It's just a crazy. He's manipulating Wolverine to do his bidding. It's a great storyline. If you could kind of look past what the classic characters were like, it's definitely worth checking out.
Oh, I'm surprised some nerd hasn't come through and reposted all these with color.
I know that cartoonist kayfabe were props to them. We're kind of stealing their bag with going over comic books, but they're actually together and can kind of flip through it together. And they're great artists. They know how to kind of critique art, which we don't know how to do. But they actually found some actual physical graphic novels of this. I don't know where it was at. Someone actually made some graphic novels out of it, and it's a physical, and they kind of went through it, which was when I first learned that this was a thing, and then I kind of looked it up. But yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah, and this will be in the description below. But yeah, I was going to say, John Byrne, wonderful roll through the past, and we're definitely going to do this again.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe next time we'll do something on the DC side. We'll see.
But
there's a lot there that I love to dip into. Maybe Batman. I don't have too many Batman ones that I go after, to be honest. But I do like some. I do like some. I'm way more on the Superman side than I am the Batman side, and that's not here or there. It's just what I have.
Yeah, and I've always wanted, if you wanted to do, I know there's a classic one that I never read was The Death of Superman, or if you wanted to do like one of the classic one is Bane, where that run from the 80s, where Bane was introduced with Batman, that would be interesting as well. But yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
No,
look,
that'd be cool.
we're B minus now. We're B
Yeah,
minus.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Who knows how these things work? But yeah, this is just kind of we're rolling up here on the caboose, and we're gonna pull the horn here and toot toot, beep beep. But yeah, we picked up quite a few subscribers. So thank you to our
Yeah.
new subscribers out there. If you've,
Mhm.
I'm gonna steal this from Thomas, but if you've hung in this long, maybe you could swing through if you're not a subscriber, and click that button, and then you can hear us, see us when you wish, and maybe there's something there. Like I always say, our back catalog is pretty robust.
Mhm.
And at some point, we're going to do a website overdue. Probably really don't need to, but all the kids are doing it, so why not, right? You got to have your own
Yeah.
website.
All the cool
But yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah. But we'd love to have you join us on our this week's episode of our Grab Bag, where we
Mhm.
cover current events. And boy, we have some stuff to cover. And
Mhm.
I always like this kind of, this is a good breaking pace for genre, for covering this comic book. It's Tell us what you guys think. What do you want to see us cover? Like, you like movies? You like series? Do you like a
Mhm.
serial? Like maybe where
Mhm.
we cover, like, we take 3 episodes and maybe we cover something a little bit
Mhm.
more meatier, maybe 2,
Mhm.
which I think we might do, depending upon if we have a lot of content or a lot to say.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I've been Mike.
And I'm Thomas. And
We'll see you later.
flame on.